Is up, Church by the Glaze, 1 o'clock. Listen, no, I want you to stop right now and give it up for yourself. Loud applause for you. Go, 1, 2, 3, go, hit it. Go, because you chose the 1 o'clock service. I think it's a brilliant choice every weekend, but on time change weekend, oh my, you're a genius. You are a biblical genius for choosing this service. You didn't feel the pain of missing an hour's sleep. Like I came to the 9 o'clock service. Oh my gosh, I felt the pain. But you were here. And a great move. If you're a guest, welcome. My name is David. I'm one of the pastors at CVG, and we're really thrilled you're with us. I hope you'll come back. Next few weeks, it's going to be so much fun. In fact, Easter, if you've never done a Church by the Glaze Easter, oh my gosh, it is church on spiritual steroids, the creativity. It is one of the most powerful things you will ever experience. And of course, Easter weekend, Easter is the 1st of April, so that's the weekend we'll blow it up. But at this campus, just to give you more options to come, more options to invite people, we do it 2 weekends beginning on March 24th, 25th. So hopefully that's 2 ways to invite people to come. And by the way, I hope you grab cards and invite people. People are receptive to a church invite this time of year, unlike any other time of the year. Man, people need God just as desperately in July, but they may not be receptive. But around Easter, people who don't normally do church, if you ask them, put a card in their hand, may just say yes. In fact, we found in the past, sometimes if we throw out like an intriguing theme, maybe some kind of nebulous idea that gives you something to talk about, like we did Purple Christmas a few years ago, we put purple up everywhere. The whole town was painted purple. And so as we did Purple Christmas, you invited people like, what is Purple Christmas? And they would say, well, come check it out. You say, we did one called X one year, same thing. What is this whole X thing about? And it made a great invite conversation starter. And so this year, it's 3. For Easter, we're going with the theme of 3. In fact, make sure you get it. I'm going to count to 3. You say 3. 1, 2. 3. Okay, that is the theme. And the number 3 shows up a bunch in the Easter narrative. I'll show you how when you come on one of the 2 Easter weekends. So we'll have cards next week that look like this, and cards that just have a big 3. And we're going to cover the town in 3, Instagram out 3 a whole bunch, and just build some excitement and intrigue for Easter Church by the Glaze. The theme this year is 1, 2, 3. There it is. Hey, one thing I love about our church is not just the fact we blow up Resurrection Weekend, but the fact our church is wonderfully diverse. I love our diversity culturally, ethnically, but I love the ages. We're a diverse church generationally. Some churches you go to, like everyone's like the same age. Like everybody's like senior adults, everybody's like middle age. Here you see all the generations. But you probably have, one happy person. Yes, happy person, yes. But you may have noticed we do press it heavily to the younger generations. We love to release young people into leadership. So I have all kinds of great young leaders in their 20s and even people serving in their teens. And sometimes it's fun to hear what God is doing in the heart of a young punk, isn't it? It is, come on. And so something a little different today, probably under the broader category of a bit of church nepotism. I'm very proud of all 3 of my kids. My only daughter's here in the front row, man. She's a remarkable, bright young woman. She's a junior in high school. She has a little kid brother. He's fun. He loves church. He's in Kids Stuff Ministry. He's there. Thank you. Zane Michael's in 2nd grade. That's our baby in the family. But the oldest is my son, Charlie. Charlie is a senior this year. And he's been feeling for some time that God is calling him to be a pastor. He's known that for a number of years. And in recent years, he's been getting chances to preach at our student ministry, our campuses, even some other churches. And last time he spoke, I thought, I think he's ready for a weekend at the one and only Sawgrass campus. So just to hear what God is doing in the heart of a young gun, would you please welcome to the stage my senior in high school, Charlie Hughes.
What is up, Church by the Glaze? That was by far the coolest sentence that has ever come out of my mouth. This is truly a dream come true for me. Ever since I was a little kid, I've wanted to be a preacher, and I pray that one day I will have the blessing of being able to be a pastor, hopefully at this church, at Church by the Glaze. But whenever I get an opportunity, the blessing, the honor to preach anywhere, I never take it lightly. I don't think God choosing to speak through someone to get a message across into someone's heart, I don't think that's something to take lightly. I think that's a very big deal. So I treat it just as I should. I pour my heart into it. I pour my soul into it. I've been dissecting the text, studying it. I've been praying over this time. I've been preaching on this stage to an empty room, just trying to get comfortable with the words that are going to be coming out of my mouth so that way God can speak through me in ways only He can. And I believe God's giving me a word. I believe are you ready to receive it? But before I even get into the word, it would just be stupid of me, foolish of me. I would be the dumbest person in all of South Florida if I went any further in this talk without first recognizing and thanking the leadership that God's placed in and over this church. So church by the Glaze, would you put your hands together for my parents, Pastors David and Lisa Hughes, and my mom's in the room. I just want to say, Mom, to you and Dad, how much I love you guys and how thankful I am for this blessing and opportunity. And I just want you all to know my parents are the same people off the stage as they are on the stage. And they have the biggest heart for seeing the people of South Florida come to know Jesus and healing, especially in a time like this, and they're the perfect people for the job. So thank you, I love you. But let me talk about me for a minute. Let me talk about me. I got all that sappy stuff out of the way. I really do mean it, but let me talk about me. Something big just went down in my life recently. I just turned 18, people. 18 a week ago, I just turned 18. The big 1-8, I am now a legal adult. And I was really excited to turn 18. But maybe not for some of the reasons that you would think I would be. I was really excited to turn 18 because I was done with year 17. I was so done with it. I was finished with it. I was ready to be driving down the road to year 18 with year 17 in my rearview mirror. I was done with year 18. Why? Because I took some L's in year 17. Some fat L's. Some big, ugly L's. L's on top of L's. L's over here, L's over there. At some points, it seemed like year 17 was just going to be one big L that I was going to have to take. Now, I don't know, maybe if you're in here and you're my dad's age, you might not know what this term taking an L means. But the term taking an L, if I could just elaborate on it, if I could break it down, it basically means, something in your life, at one point or another, you're maybe hoping, planning, expecting, maybe even praying to go one way, to go good, to go great. You're hoping to find victory or success in some area of your life. It just totally went the opposite for you. It didn't go good. It did not go great. It went bad. It probably went worse than bad. It was horrible. It was terrible. You crashed and burned. It's over. You failed. You took an L. You took a loss. In church today, I want to talk to you all about 3 L's in particular. If you're taking notes, which I hope you are, I'm going to give you these 3 L's right now. And these 3 L's are limitations, labels, and lies. Limitations, labels, and lies. It's got a nice ring to it. Limitations, labels, and lies. Limitations, labels, and lies. You can clap. Limitations, labels, and lies. Come on. Limitations, labels, and lies. Limitations, labels, and lies. Limitations, labels, and lies. Limitations, labels, and lies. Now I worked hard on that. But are you all aware of what just happened? What you and I, what we just created, we just made a rhythm, a pattern. I guess you could even call it a cycle. A rhythm, a pattern, a cycle, whatever you want to call it, of limitations, labels, and lies. And you all accepted it. You all helped me create it. And you might not be completely aware of this, but you have accepted and created some of these rhythms, patterns, and cycles of taking L's into your own life. Quite possibly a rhythm of limitations. a pattern of labels. And maybe even a cycle of lies. And I don't get it. We all do this, but I don't understand why we do this, because no one enjoys this feeling of taking an L. Like, no one wakes up in the morning and says, ooh, today seems like a great day to have a bad day. I want to wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I just want to have a bad hair day. You know, I just hope my spouse is mad at me, that my kids are disrespectful to me. I want to come outside to find out that my car has a flat tire. I want to get to work only for my boss to fire me. I want to fail that big exam. I want to get cut from the team. I just want to go out and have the worst day possible. No one, right? No one goes into a day with that type of mindset. No one goes into a test, an opportunity, a challenge, wanting to do poorly, wanting to fail. We all want to see success. We all want to see victory. That's just how we're wired as humans. So why? Why do we do this? I'm really having trouble understanding it, because all these cycles, all these patterns, all these rhythms ever do, all taking L's ever do to us is just keep us in our mess. It's just keep us feeling limited, feeling like we don't have what it takes, like we're too slow, we're not big enough. Leaving us in despair, staring in the face of our opposition, making us feeling pinned down and strapped back, unable to take hold of, unable to take grasp of maybe what it is God is calling us to. So why do we do this? Why? It really doesn't make sense. I have a hard time understanding it, because no one enjoys feeling limited. No one enjoys being falsely labeled. And I know none of you enjoy being lied to. So why? Why do we do this? As a Christ follower, as a Christian, it really doesn't make sense. How, as a Christian, can I allow myself to live a life full of limitations when I say my God is unstoppable? We just sang a song about it. When I say my God can do all things. When my God is supposed to be an unlimited God, when he says that I can do all things through he that gives me strength, how can I allow myself to live a limited life? Or how about this? How, as a Christian, someone that says that they are a follower of Christ, how can we call ourselves or allow others to label us when our God is supposed to be the one who names us and labels us? Or how, as a Christian, can I allow myself to feel limited, to feel labeled, to be living in lies when I'm supposed to be walking and living by the truth that is found in my God's word? I don't understand. I don't get it. But I do this, you do this, we all do this. And one of the main reasons I preach is because I don't have time for therapy. So I just need you guys' help working this out. I just need to wrap my mind around it, right? So just make me feel better about myself, because I can be insecure sometimes. I have limitations. So just help me out. If you've ever felt limited, just ever, even if it's just once, the smallest occurrence, I know you're all perfect, but just make me feel better about myself. Just raise your hand. That makes me feel a lot better about myself. All of us, right? We've all felt limited at one point or another. You can feel limited emotionally, physically, relationally, spiritually, financially. The list goes on and on and on. You can feel limited just about any way possible. And I thought I could start off this awkward conversation admitting to our limitations by sharing something that I've had to deal with in my own recent past. I thought I could start with this one. I guess you could call it a relational limitation. Like my dad said, I'm a senior in high school, so that means that last year I was a junior. See that 12th grade math? Last year I was a junior. In my school, it's a little bit smaller, so we do a junior-senior prom. And I had to find a date. All my friends, they all had girlfriends, so they all already had dates, but me, I'm single, so I had to find a date. And I figured I'd probably find one, but it wasn't until I saw the first promposal, I started to get a little worried. I started to stress out a little bit. And if you don't know what a promposal is, it's just sort of the public, blown out of proportion, extravagant way that a guy asks his date to prom. And the first one I saw at my school, I saw it on Snapchat. And man, this guy went all out. He took the girl he was asking to be his date on top of this tall, green, huge, grassy hill. First of all, I did not even know there were hills in Florida. But he found one. He brought his date up there. The girl he's going to ask sets out a picnic. He has her favorite snacks, her favorite drinks, all her favorite stuff on there, which is already crazy detailed. And he has a beautiful bouquet of flowers. And the sign is really important in a prom proposal. What your poster says. And this poster had this cheesy line like, baby, you're so beautiful. Will you please be, there wouldn't be a view of prom without you. Please be my date. Like something stupid like that. And I was just amazed at how much work, how much time, how much effort went in to this prom proposal that I'm not gonna lie, I started to worry. I started to become a little stressed out, but I still sort of managed to keep my cool until I guess a lot of other guys in my school were sort of in the same position that I was in. They started to worry and stress out too because it seemed like after this first girl got asked, that every single other girl in my school seemed to get asked also. Like 200 girls seemed to get asked out of nowhere. So now my options are limited. Now I'm really starting to worry. Now I'm really starting to stress out. Now I'm even starting to become a little fearful. And in the middle of my fear, that's the root of all this. In the middle of my fear, limitations began to pop into my head. Even shallow things like, come on, Charlie. Don't be stupid, man. Why would any girl want to go to prom with you? You're not good looking enough. You're not tall enough. You're not funny enough. You can't hold a conversation. You're not personable enough. And these limitations that were so shallow and so silly began to make me feel so small, so insignificant, so insecure, and so limited that I wasn't even sure if I wanted to go to prom at all at some points. Another limitation, this one isn't really quite as heavy-handed. If you just look at me, I'm not the largest man that God's ever created. I'm an average-sized guy, but I'm definitely not the biggest. But I have some friends that it's not even fair how big they are. I hang out with the basketball team at my school. And I have one friend in particular I thought would make the best example. His name is Victor. They have a picture. I look like Victor's adopted son in this picture. Victor's 7 feet tall. He's a gifted basketball player. Plays at USC, Southern California right now. And I've seen Victor do crazy things on the basketball court. He can block any shot, make any pass, dunk on anybody he wants to. But me, I can't even touch rim. I'm physically limited in comparison to Victor. You can take down the picture. But something I've come to find out about limitations is, although we might not always be able to control the limitations in our lives, we can always control in which we respond to the limitations in our life. So that got me thinking, maybe I should start viewing these limitations I've been dealing with from a different perspective, from a higher perspective, from a more spiritual perspective, starting with the two I just mentioned. Start with the relational one. Let's say in that first period of time where I began to feel worried and stressed out and even a little scared, let's say like a lot of other guys in my school, I just ask any random girl. And there's a lot of great girls in my school that love Jesus, but there's also some girls in my school that I don't really know too much about, that don't necessarily have the best reputation. And let's say I ask one of these girls that doesn't have the best reputation, let's say on prom night, at the wrong place, at the wrong time, and with the wrong girl, let's say I make the wrong decision. Perhaps even a decision so bad that it would have kept me from being able to preach to you all right now. That type of stuff happens. Or let's say I was 7 feet tall. I wish. Let's say I could dunk on anybody, block any shot, do anything I wanted to do on the basketball court. Let's say I could drain the three-pointer like Steph Curry. I still probably wouldn't be here preaching to you all. A lot of my friends that play basketball, they were competing for a state title this week. There's no way I would have had time to prepare a sermon. But the thing is, God has not called me to be on a basketball court. God has called me, Charlie Hughes, to be in the church on this stage with this mic in my hand, preaching to people, loving people, investing in people, showing someone that, man, this is what I was meant to do. This is my purpose. This is my calling. I'm called to ministry. But maybe we've all been viewing limitations incorrectly. Too often we view things that seem to be limiting us, keeping us from doing maybe what we want to do, experiencing what we think is the most in life, most love, most joy, most peace, maybe most happiness, as things that are holding us back. But what if we started to view limitations like guardrails? Because what's the whole point of a guardrail? Not to hold you back from having fun, but to hold you back from getting hurt and to guide you to where you need to go. If I was 7 feet tall, if I was a basketball top recruit, I'd be confused on what my destiny was, what God made me to be. But because God limited me in this capacity, it's clear what God wants me to do. I've been able to sharpen the skill set to help me get better at what God has called me to. What if God's taking certain things out of your life to make your purpose more clear? Because God never wants you feeling small or insignificant or weak, but he wants you to live a purpose life, a life full of blessing, a life full of love, a life full of truth, a life full of peace, a life full of purpose. God doesn't want you to live a limited life. He wants you to live an unlimited life. He wants to level you up. It's all that he's made you to be, but if you can't take it from me, let's get into the word. I'm going to be in Luke chapter 19, and this passage of scripture I'm going to be in, it's about a man named Zacchaeus, or as I like to call him, Zach. If you've never heard or read or studied this scripture before, just know this. Zacchaeus is a man that's had his fair share of limitations, labels, and lies in his life. Verse 1. Jesus entered Jericho, where Zach lived, and was passing through. Stop. I need you to get this. Even though God is always ever present and always working in our lives, sometimes the opportunities he really uses to guide us to where we need to be and what he has called us to, sometimes those opportunities only really come in passing moments. That's why it's so crucial that we are aware of where God is working in our lives. And God is working in Church by the Glaze. I said God is working in Church by the Glaze. God is working through this ministry in ways he's not doing in other places. Through the leaders, through my mom and dad. Because this church is reaching people in different ways. In ways that other churches are reaching people. God is making people find new life through this church. This is your passing moment. This is the vessel in which God wants to take you to all that you can be. And if this is your passing moment, how can you really take full advantage of it if you're not completely plugged in? If you're not volunteering? If you're not serving, leading in any way you can, if you're not inviting your friends, your family, your co-workers, anyone you have influence over, if you're not tithing, if you're not doing all that you can do possible to take advantage of this passing moment, this is what God wants to do in your life, to take you to all that you can be. This is your passing moment. Take advantage of it. Next verse. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. Now, it might not seem like it, but this was Zach's label. And I don't know how you feel about the IRS. You probably don't like them too much, but back in the day, this label tax collector carried some extra baggage, some extra connotations with it. Because the tax collectors back in Jericho during Zacchaeus' time, they would tax the people 4 to 5 times more than they're supposed to, taking it all in as profit. And the people all knew about it, but there's nothing they could do about it because the tax collectors had no direct accountability above themselves. So these men were hated. They were known to be the worst. Often throughout the Bible, when Scripture is detailing how Jesus would love those that others would neglect, they would say, man, he would hang out with prostitutes and murderers and tax collectors. And if I just had to guess what it was probably like when a tax collector back in Zacchaeus' time was walking down the road, it probably didn't go down like, there goes Phil, my tax collector. Or when you look at that, there goes Ron. You know he's a tax collector. Or right there, Stephen, he's my tax. Yours too? No way. What a guy. See, I don't think it went down like that. Probably went something more like, hey, there goes that cheater. Right there goes a liar. Oh, there goes a hustler. That man right there, he's a thief. He's a cheat. That man right there, he is the reason I'm not making ends meet. That guy right there, he's the reason I'm struggling. That man right there, he's probably cost my children their future. That man right there, that's the man I hate. That man is the worst of the worst. He is so bad. That is an evil man that has left this city in financial ruin. That man, he's a tax collector. It says that Zacchaeus, he was a chief tax collector. So he was the most hated of the hated. The worst of the worst. And the baddest of the bad. But in verse 3, he wanted to see who Jesus was. But because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. This is his limitation. It's a physical one, sort of like mine. Except his is more extreme. Can't even see over the crowd. He can't see over the people in front of him. And this is a very visible, apparent limitation. One he cannot hide. He's probably had this limitation his whole life, not most of it. He's probably been mocked because of it, made fun of. This limitation has probably shaped the way he is. It's probably a big reason of why he does what he does for a living. But in the first part of the verse, it says that he wanted to see who Jesus was. He had heard the crowd's murmurs, most likely. Overheard conversations. They're talking about this Jesus guy. This guy that when he shows up, crazy things happen. He performs miracles. This man that when he shows up, lame people begin to walk. That when this man shows up, blind people begin to see. That when this man shows up, mute people begin to talk. When this man shows up, it said that one time, he fed over 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That this man, he heals sick children. That when this man shows up, disease must flee. Darkness must cower. When this man shows up, evil has to hide. When this man shows up, crazy things happen. Miracles take place. But not only that, this is a man that offers love to those who don't feel lovable. Hope to the hopeless. Peace to the restless. Is Zacchaeus a man that is known by his labels, all that he's done wrong? And a man that has this physical, visible, apparent limitation? This sounds just like what he's been searching for, what he's been looking for. This sounds like the medication to what he needs, what all the money he has accumulated and stolen cannot satisfy. And he doesn't know completely about this Jesus man yet, but he's curious. He's curious. In the next verse it says, so he ran ahead and climbed up a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. He's so curious, as curiosity puts him up in a tree. Puts him up in a tree. Why would he have to run ahead? Because the crowd doesn't want him to see Jesus. They hate this man. They don't want him to experience all that Jesus brings to the table. They're probably saying a little extra tall, a little extra firm, a little extra strong. They do not want him to get his miracle. But this is Zach's passing moment. He's got to take advantage of it. So he runs ahead. He runs ahead and climbs up a sycamore fig tree, just trying to catch a glimpse of love, of peace, of hope. But while Zach is trying to catch a glimpse of hope, hope catches a glimpse of Zach. And it says in verse 5, when Jesus reached the spot, when Jesus was passing by, he looked up at where Zach was and said to him, Zacchaeus, Zach, come down immediately so that I might stay at your house today. I'll do it again. Zacchaeus, Zach, come down immediately. I want to chill at your crib. I'm staying at your house tonight. I want to come stay with you, Zach. Who's this Zach guy? This Zacchaeus man. The crowd must have thought. Jesus, who are you talking to? I know, because I know you're not talking to that man. That's a cheater. That's a liar. Who's Zach? Jesus, because I know you're not talking to him. That is a limited and labeled man. Jesus, that's the man I've been telling you about. The man I've been praying for you to deliver us from. Jesus, that's the man your people hate. That guy is the worst. I know you're not talking to him. I know you don't want to stay at his house. But Jesus did not call him a liar. Didn't call him a hustler. He didn't call him a thief. And he did not call him a cheat. He called him Zach. He called him Zach. Why did he call him Zach? Because that was Zach's name. His name was Zach. That was the name that God gave him. And I don't know if you know this or not about the name Zach, but the name Zach means God remembers. God remembers. And that's a reminder to you, that's a reminder to me, that while the world looks down at us and labels us based on our limitations and everything we've done wrong, only God, only Jesus still looks up at us and says, you know what? You've done some things, you have some limitations, you have some labels that other people are calling you by, but I remember your name. Your name is Zach. I don't know the promise I have for you. I still have a plan for your life. You have so much unrealized potential. There's provision over your name. Your name is powerful. Your name is Zach. I remember your name, but the reason I remember it is because I'm the one who named you. I'm the one that gave you your purpose. I'm the one that set out that plan. I'm the one with all the provision. I'm the one that gave you this potential, and I named you because I created you. By all means, congregation, listen, if you paint a painting, you can name it whatever you want. You build something, name it whatever you want. But as for God and what he creates, he is the only one that has the authority. He is the only one that has the power. He's the only one that has the naming rights to you, to me, to Zacchaeus. And you know what? He remembers your name. Your name is Zach. God remembers. Despite what other people have been calling you, despite the limitations other people are defining you by, he remembers your name because he's the one that named you, and he's never labeled you something like liar, hustler, never called you a cheat or a thief, but he has labeled you something with purpose, something with power, something like beautiful, something like prophet, something like princess, prince, son, daughter, king, queen. He has labeled you. He remembers your name. It's time for you to remember your name also. That leaves me with one L left. The L of lies. And I don't know if you know this or not, but all a lie is, it's a limitation and a label combined. Something like, you can't do this over here because you're that. Or you can't do that over there because you're this. Or your best is behind you. Humiliation certainly awaits you. And the reason you have lies being told you is because the devil wants to keep you where you are. The devil wants to keep you in the middle of your mess. The enemy wants to keep you in depression, in your fear, doubting yourself. Keep you staring in the face of your opposition. To have you continuing to feel pinned down and strapped back, unable to take a hold of what God has for you because the devil is afraid of you. The devil's biggest fear is that you would realize the potential that God has for your life. That you would step into the calling, that you would step into the purpose that God has created for you to be. Because that's bad news for the devil. Oh, that's bad news. Your curiosity has put you in this chair today. Your curiosity has made you open to these words, but only your confrontation can move you past what you came in here with. Can move you past the limitations. Can move you past the labels. Move you past the lies. And Zacchaeus gives us a great example of how we do this, because a lie is thrown his way. Right after Jesus calls him down from where he is, calls him out of his struggle, calls him out of his trouble, a lie is thrown his way in the form of the crowd. You put the verse on the screen, verse 7. All the people saw this and began to mutter. They began to mutter. They started to gossip. They started to tell Jesus, he is gone to be the guest of a sinner. Didn't call him a cheater. Did not call him a liar, a thief, or a hustler. They didn't recognize him based on his limitations this time, but they just rolled him all up into one and threw it his way, and they called him a sinner. A good for nothing. This is all he will ever be, never amount to anything, sinner. He's a sinner. We know Zacchaeus heard this because it says that the crowd said it. Everyone was saying it, but Zacchaeus does exactly what I need to do, does exactly what every single one of you need to do. He confronts the lie by moving right past it. And moves on to what God has called him to be and called him to do. And I promise I'm not lying to you. If you continue to read on your own the rest of Luke 19 about Zach's story, Jesus comes to stay at his house, but not only that, Jesus comes to stay in his heart. And he's able to live out his best days, a life full of love, happiness, joy, peace. He's able to live out the purpose that God has for him. He gives back all he has stolen and then some. He's able to live a life where God always meant for him to be. And God's calling for you to do the same, but there's someone in here that you're thinking, it was nice of Pastor David to give his high school son this opportunity, but he has no idea. What does he know? He has no idea how long I've been marching to the beat of these rhythms. He has no idea how long I've been conforming to these patterns. He has no idea how long I've been struggling, in trouble, what lies I've been believing and living in. He has no idea how long I've been taking else, what's been done to me, what I've done, what I've been called, what I've been calling others. He has no idea. I'm too far gone. I'm too messed up. Maybe back then, but now, no way. I'm too unqualified. I'm glad Zach got his perfect storybook ending, but that's why he's in the Bible. These people, they have it together. I got real problems. God can't use me. And if that's you and you're in the room thinking this, have you ever heard of a man named Noah? You know, the guy that God called to build an ark because he told him that the earth was going to flood. He was thought to be crazy, and he also was a drunk. Have you ever heard of Joseph? The man that God put in second in control over all of Egypt. He himself was once a slave. Have you ever heard of Jacob? The man that wrestled with God all night, who would not let go of God until he received his blessing. He was known for being a mama's boy and was told he was too weak to get the job done. Have you ever heard of Abraham, the father of many nations? He was told he was too old to have kids. Have you ever heard of Elijah, the Old Testament prophet, the man in which God spoke throughout generation after generation? He himself was suicidal. Have you ever heard of Gideon, the strong, brave, and courageous mighty warrior, the man that God used to bring down cities at a time? He himself was a coward and a warrior. Have you ever heard of Moses, the man that God used to emancipate his people from slavery? He himself was a murderer. Have you ever heard of David, King David, the man after God's own heart? He was an adulterer and a murderer as well. Have you ever heard of Jonah, the man that God called to start revival in Nineveh? He ran away from the call of God. Have you ever heard of Samson, the strongest man to ever live? He himself had a weakness for women. Have you ever heard of Peter, the rock on which God built his church on? He denied Christ not just once, not just twice, but on 3 separate occasions. Have you ever heard of Paul, the artist formerly known as Saul, the man that brought revival in the New Testament? He himself used to persecute Christians for a living. Have you ever heard of Lazarus, the man that God brought many people to Christ through? Because he had a testimony of how God can use dead things, messed up things, things that seem broken and too far gone, how God can use dead things. His testimony was only so great because he himself was once dead. You're not too messed up. You're not too far gone. You're not too broken. You're not too limited. You're not too labeled. Because listen, God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And God is calling you out of where you are, out of your struggle, out of your trouble, out and being done with taking L's and calling you to move on to all He's called you to be. So I think it's time we start living and marching to new rhythms, conforming to new patterns, living in new cycles. I think instead of limitations, labels, and lies, God is calling you to live a life of liberation, love, and life. Liberation, love, and life. Liberation, love, and life. Say it, liberation, love, and life. Liberation, love, and life. God's calling you. Liberation, love, and life. Today's your day. Liberation, love, life come out. Liberation, love, and life confronted. Liberation, love, and life. Time for you to live. Liberation, love, and life. Today is your day. Now is your moments. This is your time. No more taking else. God did not die on the cross for you to live a limited life, a labeled life, a life full of lies, but He has called you to the way, the truth, and the life in Him. Church, I love you. God loves you. He has so much for you, so much, a life full of purpose. It's time for you to start living it out. Dear Jesus, we come to you today because you're so great. God, because you are powerful. You are awesome, God. A lot of us in here right now, we're feeling weak, Lord, but you are strong. We're feeling not big enough, Lord, but you are gigantic. God, we got some obstacles, but you are the obstacle overcoming the mountain mover, God. We're trusting you. We're confronting our problems, the limitations, labels, and lies we've been dealing with, Lord, and we're moving on to all that you have for us. Thank you, Lord, for what you did on the cross and what you are going to continue to do in our lives. We love you, Lord. In your perfect, precious, and mighty name, amen.